Hidden depths. Admiral Elena Reyes stood at the edge of the command platform, 3 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean. The massive underground chamber, carved into the seabed and reinforced with materials no alien species knew humans could produce, stretched for kilometers in every direction. The blue-green light from the holographic displays cast shifting patterns across her face as she studied the incoming transmissions. "Replay the Kelder ultimatum," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The main screen flickered, revealing the angular features of High Commander Vrex of the Kelder Dominion. His metallic skin caught the light as he spoke, mandibles clicking with obvious disdain. "People of Earth, the patience of the Kelder Dominion has reached its limit. Your refusal to cede mining rights to the Proxima system demonstrates your continued arrogance. You have 24 Earth hours to surrender all colonial assets beyond your solar system, or face immediate military action. Your pitiful fleet of 300 obsolete vessels cannot hope to stand against even a fraction of our forces." The message ended, freezing on the Kelder commander's contemptuous expression. "Status report," Admiral Reyes said, turning to her staff. Fleet Commander Maya Oko stepped forward, her dark uniform perfectly pressed despite the 18-hour shift she just completed. "The Kelder battle group has established positions near Jupiter. 87 warships in total, including 3 dreadnoughts. They're making no attempt to conceal their movements or power signatures. They believe there's no need for stealth. And our people in the colonies." Director of Intelligence James Chen consulted his tablet. "Civilian evacuation protocols were initiated the moment we detected the Kelder fleet entering our system. 98% of colonial personnel have been relocated to secure facilities. Those remaining are essential personnel who volunteered to stay." Admiral Reyes nodded, then walked to the central command table where a 3-dimensional representation of Earth's oceans glowed with thousands of bright points of light, each one representing a vessel in the hidden fleet. 270 years, she said, almost to herself. "For nearly 3 centuries, we've maintained this deception, playing the part of a minor power while building the largest naval force the galaxy has ever seen." The room fell silent. Everyone present understood the historical significance of what was about to happen. Since first contact revealed how technologically outmatched Earth was compared to the older galactic civilizations, humanity had made a unified decision. Rather than attempt to catch up through conventional means, they would hide their true capabilities. The underwater shipyards began construction in 2155, built into ocean trenches and beneath continental shelves. These massive facilities operated in complete secrecy. No satellites could penetrate the kilometers of seawater. No visiting alien delegation was ever allowed near the construction sites. Year after year, decade after decade, the fleet grew. 1 ship became 10, 10 became 100, 100 became 1,000, and now 1,000,000 warships waited beneath Earth's oceans, ready to emerge. "The Kelder believe we have 300 obsolete vessels," said Admiral Reyes, looking at the assembled command staff. "They're expecting us to surrender without a fight. After all, what choice would a minor power have against 87 advanced warships?" She allowed herself a small smile. "I think it's time we corrected their misunderstanding." She placed her palm on the authentication panel. "This is Fleet Admiral Elena Reyes. Authorization code Poseidon Actual 473. Initiate Operation Surface Breach." Throughout the command center, officers moved with practiced efficiency, transmitting the coded signal to bases hidden beneath every ocean on Earth. On screens throughout the chamber, underwater cameras activated, showing the first massive bay doors beginning to open. In the Atlantic, kilometer-wide sections of the mid-ocean ridge began to shift, revealing launch chambers that had remained sealed for decades. In the Pacific, what appeared on alien scans to be an unremarkable trench began to glow with the power signatures of thousands of ships preparing for ascent. Beneath the frozen surface of the Arctic, stealth dreadnoughts activated propulsion systems that had never been ignited outside of testing chambers. First wave prepared for surface launch, announced Communications Officer Sophia Lin, her fingers moving across her console with swift precision. On the screens, the first vessels began their ascent. Sleek destroyers rose through the dark waters, their hulls designed to transition smoothly from ocean depths to the vacuum of space. The Kelder embassy is demanding an explanation for the energy signatures they're detecting, reported Director Chen, listening to intelligence feeds through his earpiece. Orbital monitoring stations are picking up anomalies in every ocean basin. Admiral Reyes nodded. Let them wonder a little longer. In his flagship orbiting Jupiter, Kelder Commander Vrex was receiving increasingly frantic reports from his scouts near Earth. Something's happening in Earth's oceans, his sensor officer reported, voice tinged with confusion. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. Movement patterns suggesting large-scale launches. Vrex stiffened in his command chair. Launches. The humans possess barely 300 military vessels, most outdated by our standards. But the sensor officer wasn't laughing. Sir, I'm tracking hundreds of objects breaking the ocean surface now. Thousands. The count keeps rising. On Earth, Admiral Reyes had moved to the tactical command station. The first wave, 50,000 warships, had broken the surface and was moving into low orbit. The second wave was beginning its ascent. Kelder command frequency is active with emergency transmissions, reported Officer Lin. They're ordering all ships to battle stations. Reyes nodded. Transmit our message on all Galactic Council frequencies. Her face appeared on communication screens across thousands of worlds. In the council chamber itself, representatives of 200 species watched in stunned silence as Reyes spoke. This is Admiral Elena Reyes of Earth Fleet Command. For centuries, humanity has endured the patronizing treatment of the older galactic civilizations. We have been dismissed as insignificant, our territories encroached upon, our rights ignored. The ultimatum delivered by the Kelder Dominion and the Council's failure to intervene has forced our hand. Behind her, the camera showed Earth from orbit, where tens of thousands of warships now moved into formation, with more constantly surfacing from the oceans below. As you can see, humanity is not as defenseless as you believed. We possess not the 300 ships listed in your registry, but 1 million warships of advanced design. They have been constructed in secret beneath our oceans, away from your prying sensors and dismissive assessments. In the Kelder command ship, Commander Vrex watched in horror as his tactical display showed the impossible. Earth, the supposedly minor power, was launching more ships than the combined fleets of the 5 largest empires in the galaxy. Impossible, he whispered. Their industrial capacity. On screen, Admiral Reyes continued. To the Kelder forces currently threatening our colonies, you have 6 hours to withdraw completely from our territory. Any Kelder vessel remaining after that time will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. To the Galactic Council, humanity will no longer accept second-class status. We expect a full review of all treaties imposed upon us. As she spoke, more ships continued to rise from Earth's oceans, their hulls still dripping with seawater as they joined the growing armada in orbit. 1 million ships, the greatest fleet the galaxy had ever seen, and it had been there all along, hidden beneath the waves of a planet everyone had underestimated. Reyes ended the transmission and turned to her staff. Send the fleet to defensive positions. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. In the Kelder embassy on Earth, Ambassador Thak paced nervously. His communication device beeped constantly with alerts from monitoring stations around the planet. What do you mean thermal anomalies? He snapped at his science officer. Be specific. The science officer's image flickered on the screen. Sir, our sensors are detecting massive heat signatures from every ocean on Earth. Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, Arctic, all showing temperature increases in deep water regions. Energy readings are off the charts. Thak moved to the window. The embassy sat on a hill overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The water looked calm and normal, but his instincts told him danger was coming. "Contact the human authorities," he ordered. "Demand to know what's happening." On the embassy's main screen, the global sensor network flashed warning after warning. Something huge was moving beneath Earth's oceans. 3 kilometers below the surface of the Pacific, Captain Maizong stood on the bridge of the destroyer Relentless Current. For 12 years, she had trained for this day. Her ship, along with thousands of others in this launch bay alone, had never seen sunlight or stars. "All systems ready," her first officer reported. Launch bay doors opening. Zhang felt a slight vibration as the massive doors above their underwater base slid apart. Kilometers-wide panels of artificial seafloor, disguised as a seanant chain, moved aside to reveal the open ocean above. "Prepare for surface launch," Zhang ordered. "Formation Bravo 7. Throughout her ship, 300 crew members moved with practiced efficiency. The Relentless Current had never flown in actual space, but every crew member had spent thousands of hours in perfect simulations. "All ships reporting ready," the communications officer announced. On the tactical display, Zhang could see the positions of 50 other destroyers in her immediate launch group, a tiny fraction of the full fleet about to emerge. "Begin ascent," Zhang ordered. In orbital monitoring stations, human technicians who weren't part of the secret watched their instruments with confusion and growing alarm. "Sir, I'm getting energy signatures from the Mariana Trench," one called out, "and similar readings from the Mid-Atlantic Ridge and the Indian Ocean abyssal plains." Station Commander Kato kept his face neutral. He knew what was happening, though he'd never been told the full scale of the operation. "Contact Earth Fleet Command," he said calmly. "Priority channel." On screens across the monitoring station, satellite imagery showed strange disturbances in ocean surfaces worldwide. Massive circular patterns appeared, as if the water itself was being pushed up from below. In his flagship, Kelder Commander Vrex received the first alarming reports. "Sir, Earth's oceans are showing unusual activity," his sensor officer reported. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database." Vrex frowned. The humans were a minor power with outdated technology. Their fleet consisted of barely 300 vessels, most of which were currently docked at their lunar base. "Specify unusual activity," he demanded. The sensor officer's voice trembled slightly. "Sir, I'm detecting objects rising from the oceans. Many objects, military vessels, hundreds of them." Vrex moved quickly to the main tactical display. "Show me." A holographic image of Earth appeared, with bright dots representing detected vessels. At first, there were just a few hundred near major coastlines. Then suddenly, thousands more appeared, rising from ocean depths worldwide. "This is impossible," Vrex whispered. "Check your sensors again." "Sensors are functioning correctly, sir," the officer replied. "I'm now tracking over 10,000 vessels. 15,000. 20,000. Vrex stared in disbelief as the count continued rising. How could the humans have hidden such a fleet? Where had they built these ships? The Kelder had spies in every human shipyard, monitors on every orbital platform. Their production capacity was assessed at fewer than 300 vessels. "Sir," the officer said, voice now barely audible, "the count has passed 100,000 and is still climbing." Captain Zhang felt the exhilaration of open sky as her destroyer broke the surface of the Pacific Ocean. Water cascaded from the hull as the ship rose higher, anti-gravity engines humming with power. "Surface achieved," her helmsman reported. "All systems nominal." Through the viewports, Zhang could see hundreds of other vessels emerging nearby: destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and massive battleships. For generations, these ships had waited in hidden underwater bases. Now they rose together in perfect formation, water streaming from their hulls as they pointed toward the stars. "Take us to orbital position," Zhang ordered. Formation Delta 7. The Relentless Current accelerated upward, joining a growing armada that stretched across the sky. Naval vessels of every class moved into precise formations that had been planned decades in advance. Rising tide. In the Galactic Council chamber, emergency alarms sounded as the first reports arrived. Representatives from 200 species gathered around display screens showing the impossible sight. Earth, the supposedly minor power, launching what appeared to be the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. "This cannot be real," the Arcturian delegate insisted. "It must be some form of illusion or sensor trick." But the images kept coming. Ships rising from oceans worldwide, vessels of advanced design with weapon systems that matched or exceeded those of the major powers. And the numbers kept growing. Commander Vrex watched in horror as his tactical officers continued the count. 500,000 vessels detected, 600,000, 700,000. Each number felt like a physical blow. The Keldari Dominion, the self-proclaimed military power in this sector of the galaxy, possessed just under 20,000 warships in total. And now Earth, this supposedly insignificant world, was launching many times that number. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Fleet Command," his communications officer reported. Admiral Rice's face appeared on the main screen. She wore a uniform Vrex had never seen before. Not the familiar blue of Earth's known military, but a darker, more formal design with gold insignia that marked a far more advanced command structure than the Keldari had believed existed. "Commander Vrex," she said calmly, "by now you've observed our fleet emerging. You are witnessing the end of a deception that has lasted for centuries. Earth is not the minor power you believed us to be." Vrex found his voice. How did you build such a fleet without detection?" Reyes smiled slightly. "Beneath our oceans, Commander, the one place your sensors and spies couldn't reach. While you watched our orbital shipyards producing our decoy fleet of outdated vessels, our true production facilities have operated in secret beneath kilometers of seawater." The tactical display updated again. 900,000 vessels detected, 950,000. "The Keldari forces threatening our territory have 6 hours to withdraw," Rice continued. "After that time, they will be removed by force." The transmission ended, leaving Vrex staring at the tactical display as the count finally stabilized. "Final count, 1 million vessels," his sensor officer reported, voice hollow with shock. Outside the viewports of his flagship, Vrex could see Earth in the distance. The planet was now surrounded by a vast cloud of warships that glinted in the sunlight, their hulls still wet with the ocean waters that had hidden them for so long. In a single day, everything had changed. The galaxy would never be the same. The enormous chamber of the Galactic Council was built to impress. Towering columns of rare metal supported a ceiling that displayed a perfect map of the known galaxy. 200 representatives sat in curved rows, each from a different species. For centuries, this room had been where the powerful made decisions that shaped the fates of countless worlds. Today, that power suddenly felt very small. In the center of the chamber, Admiral Rice's hologram stood 3 meters tall. She wore her crisp black uniform with silver insignia that no council member had ever seen before. Behind her, tactical displays showed Earth's massive fleet. 1 million warships now moving through space with perfect coordination. The council leader, an ancient Horos with crystal-like skin, tried to maintain dignity. "Admiral Rice, this unannounced display of military force violates numerous council protocols." "Protocols?" Rice interrupted, her voice calm but carrying throughout the chamber. "Let's discuss protocols. When the Keldari threatened our colonies, this council made no move to intervene. No emergency session, no sanctions against the aggressors, just an expectation that humanity would accept its place as a minor power not worth defending." The Keldari representative, a tall figure with metallic features, stood up. "Earth has deliberately misrepresented its military capabilities for centuries. This deception—" "Yes," Rice said simply, "we deceived you. Just as your Dominion has hidden military bases in supposedly neutral systems, just as the Arcturians have conducted illegal genetic experiments on primitive species, just as the Void Collective has harvested resources from protected worlds. She paused, letting her words sink in. The difference is, our deception harmed no one. Yours has cost countless lives. Screens around the chamber showed Earth ships taking position throughout human space. The images were stunning. Vessels of advanced design moving with precision that suggested years of training. For generations, Rise continued. Humanity has been dismissed as a minor power. We've endured territorial encroachments, unfair trade restrictions, and now outright aggression against our sovereignty. The Keldari believed they could annex human territory with impunity, and this council stood by. Today, that changes. At the edge of the Proxima system, Fleet Commander Diego Vega stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Ocean's Wrath. His battle group, 50,000 ships, had just completed their faster-than-light jump into the system. Through the main viewport, he could see the Keldari forward base, a massive space station orbiting the gas giant Proxima IV. Status report, Vega ordered. His second-in-command, Captain Amara Okonkwo, looked up from her console. 27 Keldari warships detected in system. Their communication channels are chaotic. They've spotted our arrival but can't believe the numbers they're seeing. Vega nodded. The Keldari invasion force had expected minimal resistance. What they were seeing now was impossible by their understanding of human capabilities. Open a channel to the Keldari commander, Vega ordered. On the main screen, a Keldari officer appeared, his metallic face showing a mixture of shock and anger. This is Fleet Commander Diego Vega of Earth Fleet Command. Your forces have illegally threatened human territory. You have 6 hours to withdraw completely from this system. Any ships remaining after that time will be neutralized. The Keldari commander's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. This is Commander Krell of the Dominion Third Fleet. We don't recognize your authority in this system. The planets here are under Keldari protection. Vega allowed himself a small smile. Look outside your viewport, Commander Krell. Count our ships. Your force of 27 vessels is now surrounded by 50,000 Earth warships. This is not a negotiation. It is a courtesy notice. Captain Okonkwo muted the transmission. Sir, we're intercepting their internal communications. They're desperately calling for reinforcements. Vega nodded. They won't come. Admiral Rise has deployed similar forces to every threatened system simultaneously. Back in the council chamber, the representatives watched in stunned silence as tactical displays showed Earth's fleet surrounding Keldari forces throughout human space. This is our official notice to the Galactic Council, Admiral Rice continued. Humanity will no longer accept being treated as a minor power. We have the strength to defend our territory and interests. We expect this body to adjust its policies accordingly. The Arcturian representative stood. Unlike the angry Keldari, she seemed genuinely curious. Admiral, how did Earth manage to build such a fleet without detection? Our monitoring systems cover every known shipyard in human space. Reyes nodded. A fair question. While you monitored our orbital facilities producing our decoy fleet, our true production took place beneath Earth's oceans. The water provided both natural shielding from your sensors and abundant resources for construction. For nearly 3 centuries, we've been building in secret while presenting ourselves as a modest, unthreatening power. Murmurs spread through the chamber. 3 centuries of deception. 1 million ships hidden from the most sophisticated monitoring networks in the galaxy. And the technology? Asked the Void Collective representative. These vessels display capabilities beyond what Earth was believed to possess. We focused our research in areas that would not be visible to outsiders, Rise explained. While demonstrating outdated propulsion systems in our visible ships, we developed advanced drive technology in our underwater facilities. The same applies to weapons, shields, and communication systems. In the Proxima system, Commander Krell of the Keldari fleet was facing an impossible situation. His 27 ships were surrounded by 50,000 Earth vessels. Similar reports were coming in from every Kelder force in human space. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting weapons locks from multiple Earth vessels. Their technology, it's unlike anything in our database." Krell stared at the tactical display. The Earth ships had formed a perfect sphere around his fleet, leaving no possible escape route. His ships were outnumbered nearly 2,000 to 1. "Send a message to Dominion Command," he ordered. "Request immediate instructions," but he already knew what those instructions would be. The Keldari Dominion, for all its aggressive expansion, was not foolish enough to fight a battle it could not win. At exactly the 5-hour mark, Keldari ships across human space began powering up their engines. One by one, they moved away from their positions, forming up for faster-than-light jumps back to Keldari territory. In the Proxima system, Commander Vega watched as the Keldari fleet departed. "They're leaving without further confrontation," Captain Okonkwo reported. Similar withdrawals reported in all threatened systems. Vega nodded. Just as Admiral Rice predicted, the Keldari value survival above all else. On the Keldari homeworld, the High Council was in emergency session. Reports of the human fleet had sent shockwaves through the Dominion. Supreme Commander Zorak pounded his metallic fist on the table. "How could our intelligence be so wrong?" he demanded. "1 million ships, hidden beneath their oceans for centuries." Strategic Director Mirex displayed the latest footage of Earth's fleet. "The humans have played a long game, Supreme Commander. While we saw them as primitives barely worth noticing, they were building the largest military force in galactic history." In the Galactic Council chamber, Admiral Rice stood before the assembled representatives. The emergency session had stretched into its 5th hour, and the initial shock was giving way to a new political reality. "Earth seeks no empire," Rice was saying. "We desire only what we have always desired: respect for our sovereignty, fair treatment in galactic affairs, and the right to determine our own destiny. The fleet we reveal today exists to ensure these basic rights can never again be threatened." The council leader spoke carefully. "Admiral Rice, the council acknowledges Earth's impressive capabilities. A committee will be formed immediately to review all existing treaties and trade agreements with human territories." Rice nodded. "We look forward to these discussions. Humanity is prepared to be a constructive partner in galactic affairs, but as equals, not subordinates." As the session ended, representatives from dozens of species approached Rice, eager to establish new diplomatic channels with the suddenly formidable Earth. "I believe the term is the tables have turned," murmured Captain Chen, who stood at Rice's side. 3 centuries of patience," Rice replied quietly. 3 centuries of building, planning, and waiting for the right moment. Our ancestors would be proud." Back on Earth, in the underwater command center, Rice stood before the assembled staff who had helped orchestrate the most significant revelation in human history. "Today marks the beginning of a new era for humanity," she said. "For centuries, we hid our strength, allowing others to underestimate us while we grew stronger in the shadows. That time is over. From this day forward, humanity takes its rightful place among the stars, not as supplicants, but as equals." On screens throughout the command center, Earth's massive fleet could be seen in orbit, 1 million warships glinting in the sunlight, their hulls still bearing traces of the ocean waters that had hidden them for so long. The greatest deception in galactic history was over. The hidden fleet had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same again.